Deer Valley Tower, Turkey 44 Tango. We're going to come back in. We're having some engine trouble. We haven't lost our engine, but we have low RPMs. We lost engine RPMs. It's not really an emergency, but we can't make it back to the field.
It's possibly have an aircraft that is down about 1 mile east of the field. So as you enter that left down, if you could look and see if you see anything, we'd appreciate it.
So, I mean, the first comment I want to make on that, does it ever completely surprise you, Tram, that, you know, these pilots they're in a very bad situation, how calm they are?
Yeah.
When they're it's like, oh, our engine's out. You know, I feel like I'd be screaming. All right, so we're covering the small plane crash into a North Phoenix neighborhood. It was a training flight trying to land at Deer Valley Airport. You just heard. They basically lost power in their engine, or enough power, and they crashed into two homes near Deer Valley and Cave Creek roads. The two people on board that plane survived. One person inside one of the homes had minor injuries. All taken to the hospital, all expected to recover.
So joining us now is meteorologist and pilot Chris Dunn. Chris, you've had a chance to see the aftermath of this terrible crash here. I mean, it's hard to believe that they actually survived, the people on that plane. What struck you about this?
Well, as a flight instructor, we always tell our students right off the bat that we go through an ABC checklist if you should lose the engine, because you only have one out there. If you lose the engine, A, best airspeed, so the airplane basically turns into a glider. B is best field, where are you going to put this thing down? And C, follow the checklist. There is an emergency checklist in case the engine does fail. And it sounds like they did that right away when he said, we're losing engine RPM. They turned right back around in the opposite direction, right back to Deer Valley Airport, tried to get the thing started. For whatever reason, they did eventually lose engine power. He thought he could make the airport, and unfortunately they didn't. The problem with trying to find a suitable landing spot at the last minute like that is there sometimes aren't a whole lot of options. So you have a neighborhood, a lot of times a road might be available, but you have power lines and telephone poles along roads, so that could also pose another obstacle. And then you also have cars that you want to try to avoid any kind of collision with anything on the ground, if at all possible.
And I would imagine a neighborhood or a home was one of the last things that you want to hit on your way down, right, Chris? I mean, so
yeah.
So they must have been in a bad spot, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like they thought at one point they could make the airport. The tower did clear them to land on 25 right, 25 left, either runway. They basically closed off the airspace. They held everybody else back. They said, the airport is yours if you can make it. And at one point they thought they could. It sounded like they did have some engine power, but then at some point they lost all engine power altogether. And then that's when they realized they couldn't make it, either because they were just really busy, task saturated with dealing with the emergency, or because they couldn't, they were out of radio range. They were just too low to be able to receive the transmission. They didn't say anything else on the radio. But, you know, there's another thing that we do as flight instructors. We tell our students that the radios don't fly the airplane, you fly the airplane. And the first rule of any emergency is fly the airplane, deal with the emergency at hand. Don't worry about talking on the radio.
And Chris, if you look at the video, I mean, they were so close to that open field, just feet away from where they landed in the backyard.
Yeah, and you know, it's really tough to second guess decisions like that when it looks like you can make the field and you're aiming to the airport. You're trying to deal with the emergency, going through the checklist, trying to establish that best glide airspeed to try to maximize the gliding distance. Because if you do lose the engine, you're not going to just drop out of the sky. It is going to glide. And so they're trying to make it to the airport. And at one point, they probably determined they weren't going to be able to make it. And then they probably didn't have any other suitable alternatives at that point, and tried to just make it to maybe the street in that neighborhood. Who knows? Maybe we'll be able to talk to the pilots. But I'm just glad that everybody made it out okay.
Yeah, so we're almost out of time, Chris, but I mentioned this off the top. Yeah. Is it like pilot code to be super calm on these things? You never hear pilots like yelling and, oh my God, my engine just went out. It's always like, yeah, we're, you know, with no engine now and we're going to go down. I mean, is that just kind of the way you're trained?
Some of it depended on the demeanor of the pilot, but also, as I mentioned, from day one, we would teach our students how to deal with an emergency. And way back 25 years or so ago, plus, when I was a private pilot, I learned from the very first lesson, if you lose the engine, this is what's going to happen. This is how you treat that situation. This is how you deal with this emergency. And I might point out that Deer Valley is one of the busiest general aviation airports in the entire world. There's so much flight training going on here, and a lot of airplanes coming in and out of that airport. So if you increase the numbers, eventually that's going to catch up with us, and stuff breaks and stuff happens. So we're fortunate that this one turned out with a fairly positive outcome considering the circumstances.
Right. And that neighborhood is growing up so much. I mean, it used to be Deer Valley Airport. There's nothing out there. And now you go out there and there's homes and things everywhere. Chris, that was interesting. Thank you for joining us on your day off. What a trooper.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple days when you come back.
Thanks, guys.